All right, it's 11 o'clock, so let's get started. I'm Andrew Hayes, principal here at SVA Consulting, joined by Kaylee, Julia, and Austin as well. We're going to go through what's new in Acumatica 2026 R1, so pretty excited about this one. As you guys have questions, or if you have questions, please drop them in the chat, and we will address them at the end of today's demo. All right. So what we'll go through today is first pretty standard. So we'll go through the upgrade resources, the life cycle of the product. So when the new releases will be released and then when the old ones will retire. We'll go through what the upgrade process looks like and then start to really get into the features. So there's a lot of new features in 26 R1 that we're excited about. And we'll spend most of the time in that feature review and then also in some Q&A at the end as well. All right, so just a reminder, Acumatica has 2 new releases a year, usually in the spring and then in the fall. We'll provide this deck as well along with this link so you can see the timing. But 2026 R1, it was released in March in the non-beta version, so the production version, and expected to retire in November of 2027. And so you can just kind of see what version you're on and then when that expected retirement date would be. And we definitely want to upgrade before that date for sure. So what does that upgrade process look like? First, we have some planning to do, right? So we'll go through and understand what any customizations you have, any custom reports, that kind of thing. Then Acumatica, as part of your SaaS agreement, has a free 90-day sandbox. So what they'll do is they'll take a copy of your production site, they'll put it into a sandbox site for you to test in. That's something that SVA can help with as well. So that's a 90-day countdown for that. We're showing you an overview of the features today in 26 R1, but there's a lot out there. I think when I was reviewing the release notes, it was 390 pages, so almost 400 pages. And we've combined that all into about 45 minutes today. But there's a lot of in there for you and a lot that would be more specific to your workflow. So really that's what the tailored training is the SVA team and yourselves as well. It's helping to handpick what's useful to you and what's most relevant to your workflow. Training is followed by piloting, kind of similar to an implementation, and then we'll go live as well. So just wanted to go through the upgrade process when your current version is expiring and kind of what that looks like. All right, so let's jump in. We'll be going through 7 different types of features today, hoping to capture everything that's relevant to someone on the call. So there's a lot of AI and global features as well. So obviously system-wide, we'll go through, there's now a chat feature. You can ask Acumatica questions and it will look at a GI and answer them for you, which is pretty exciting. There's different prompts that are available. So we'll go through what those look like. I'll show you the roadmap in a bit. But then there's also things like tags of different files, which is really cool. Then you can search by those tags. So there's basically now metadata for different files. On the financial feature, there's a feature that is similar to Velixo, not quite as robust at this point, but the ability to do some financial reporting in Excel. We'll go through some project features. So projects now have a dedicated page for material planning for projects, and that hits your MRP engine. And so you can do planning and basically project material planning and have that, create purchase orders from that inventory planning display page. A few distribution features, so they made things like inventory in transit, have some visibility there, some WMS improvements. We'll walk through some of those. The manufacturing features, the big one there is there's a kiosk now, so a shop floor kiosk, which you'll see some of those as well. Some CRM features and then additional integration features. There's a lot here. I think you'll probably see more in 2026 product release than you did in 2025 and before that. And a large part of that background, or that story rather, is that Acumatica spent the last few years creating that, I'm sure you've heard it, the modern UI. That makes it much more easier to, hide fields that you're not using regularly. You can personalize it a lot easier. On the development side, developers can develop a lot faster as well. So essentially what they did under the hood is revamp Acumatica on the technical side and modernize the programming up to modern programming standards. And so I think that held up some of the new releases of the features that you guys are going to see today and certainly in the future. So I would say expect a more rapid release of new features now that that framework is behind us and that revamp is behind us. All right. So I know a big topic is AI. That's really a lot of the new features in the product. We'll have a dedicated session for AI and Acumatica, but we'll touch on some of those features today. And so just on the left side, that's what's available now, and then what's on the roadmap, right? So some of these you guys may have seen, right? So the AI expense management and AP invoice capture. Those just use those OCR technology to, take a picture and then map the fields. There's also now intelligent text completion, which is pretty cool. So you can train a model to autocomplete some of your text. It does need a little bit of training for that to work. You can also connect to Claude as well, which is kind of cool. You can ask questions of Acumatica, that kind of thing, in that Claude connector. And now anomaly detection was rolled out before, but now it's available across the entire product. So any generic inquiry that you have, it can run anomaly detection on it, and you'll see some of that today. What's on the roadmap is really more of the agentic flow. So today you can ask Acumatica questions of generic inquiries, in the chat feature. But that will allow you, the agentic side will actually allow you to do an action, right? So maybe create a transaction, automate the creation of an allocation transaction as an example, and then have someone review it before it's released to hit the general ledger. So expect more of those agentic workflows in the future. Acumatica will also, they're building their own, what's called an MCP, which is really it's just the kind of technical term for having an AI tool that can connect to other tools. So it's essentially like the USB-C of AI tools. So it allows us to connect to things a lot easier and then see data in different systems as well. So that's coming in, I think, late this year, early next year. On the longer horizon, I know when we try to create a pivot table or query data that has a lot of rows in it, so a lot of data can take a while to process. And data lakes are an answer to that. So what data lakes do is they really, store a lot of that data can be read-only, but it lets you run analytics on that data without bogging down the system. So that's a longer item on the horizon, but certainly one that we're excited about. Deeper AI assistant. So Kelly's going to show you some stuff today that's within the tool for AI assistance. Again, you can ask it questions. It has, it's limited, of course, by, the GIs that are enabled to that AI assistant. So there's features today that I think will help to move the needle and making things a lot easier in Acumatica. And then, they're looking to build that out even more. So that's what you can expect in the product. And then you might have heard this idea of a digital twin or a digital employee. That's really more of a kind of user that is a virtual worker. What they can do, like monitor operations. Maybe it can see, hey, I have an anomaly detection on this AP invoice. I might act on that and then have someone review the output of that. So again, shifting into less of the person having to create the transactions and shifting into reviewing those transactions. So that's really kind of what we're seeing on the roadmap. All right. And Julia, do you want to walk through some of the global enhancements here?
Yes, just as Andrew already mentioned, there's a lot here, so highlighting a couple ones of the ones that we thought were especially really helpful and will enhance your Acumatica experience. So one of them is an improvement to generic inquiries. So now you can skip calculating total record count in a generic inquiry. So this is especially helpful for larger data sets. So it significantly improves the performance because the system avoids the extra processing just to count records. And it also seamlessly passes parameters between inquiries. So parent inquiries can now pass parameters values directly to child inquiries. This makes it much easier to create connected drill down style reports without duplicating any logic. Then you will also have greater control over data time values in pivot tables. So this gives you more flexibility in the time-based analysis. You can group data in pivot tables by detailed time periods now, like week of the month or month of quarter, to better analyze the trends and compare the time frames. There's built-in cumulative totals, so pivot tables now support running totals, making it easier to track things like revenue growth or sales over time without extra calculation. So you will get better insights without having to export the data with that more granular reporting. And then another new feature is the new phone control. So that's one of the new UI enhancements. It lets you start a call directly from a phone number entered in a text box. So the new control, when you see a phone number in the system, you can tap that phone number and it will open your default phone app of your device and then call the number. All right, a little bit to the new finance features and enhancements. So first of all, now you'll be able to accept payments by using a mobile card reader. So employees can securely accept payments directly in Acumatica's mobile app using Bluetooth card readers. So this is especially ideal for field teams and on-site transactions. So for example, if a field service technician can complete a job, he can collect the payment on the spot via card and instantly email a receipt before even leaving the site. Then there's enhanced foreign currency payment experience for you. So if you're using that as of now, you can now enter the amount paid directly in the document currency when creating AR or AP documents or reconcile bank transactions. Another feature that's new and exciting is the Inside Excel. So that's the Excel add-in that Andrea already mentioned. So now it allows you to also refresh data in Excel and create or work on reports there. So as of now, this is just for financial reports in Acumatica. You can not use it yet for project accounting that's on the roadmap. It's also on the roadmap for generic inquiries, and the write back functionality, as you have it in Velixo, is also on the roadmap for that one. So not existing yet, but probably gonna come out soon. All right, the next one is, and I will show you this in our demo part later. The next one is prepayments invoices from purchase order. So that's a new feature that we will also go through in the demo. So now you can create this right from the purchase order screen, saving you time and also reducing the risk for errors and double entries. You can also now send payment links for prepayment invoices and plan depreciation changes without impacting the past. So now you can schedule depreciation method changes by period, allowing you to switch approaches in the future while keeping all previous posted depreciations intact. I've included a picture of seeing the box that needs to be enabled for that.
All right. All right. Julia, do you want to go ahead and share your screen?
Yeah, and I can actually start with the AI stuff, and then I'll hand it over to Julia for
Perfect.
some
Sorry.
But,
Thank you.
all right, so I'll go ahead and share. We'll break up some of the slides and get you guys some of the demo that I know you guys are looking forward to. So give me the cue when you guys can go ahead and see my screen, and we'll jump right in.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and talk through some of the AI stuff before I hand it over to Julia for some of the global enhancements and the financial features that she just walked through. So some of these, as Andrea had said, some of the AI functionality in Acumatica has existed within previous releases. So things like our expense receipt recognition, our AP document recognition, as well as the anomaly detection. So I'll kind of highlight really the things that we've seen be new within the 2026 R1 release. All right, so a couple of things related to just anomaly detection to start. We've shown this in previous webinars as well, Again, this is a feature that existed within the 25 release, but what this tool does is essentially start to detect anomalies based on different generic inquiries within Acumatica. Then this is some of what that output will start to look at. So in my example, I'm detecting anomalies against AP bills. See, we'll hide that emoji hop up. And then this is where we'll start to see expected values in terms of, hey, based off of previous AP bills within the system, based on that item and vendor combination, for example, this is what we'd expect our expected unit cost to be versus, what was the actual unit cost? And then that's going to start to drive the level of anomaly severity within Acumatica. Just to refresh your memory as well, if there were any of these that, the system starts to flag for you, we could go ahead and review them. So, maybe there's something like a vendor increased their cost, or we discounted, or they discounted pretty heavily. We could go ahead and just review on a line-by-line basis and say something like, hey, this looks good, and that will start to fall off of our anomaly list. So again, we dove deep into this in some previous webinars, but what's new within the 26R1 release is that this anomaly detection feature can now be added to any generic inquiry within Acumatica. So just to very quickly show you kind of behind the hoods, you can determine based off of an inquiry in Acumatica whether you want to detect anomalies or not. And then you'll see this new anomaly detection tab show up within the generic inquiry writing tool. And then this is where you can start to say, what fields do I want to analyze for this anomaly detection as well. So now available throughout the system on any inquiries that you guys want to leverage this on. This is just to note kind of the inquiry tool. So maybe not everyone in your organization has access to it. So if you're searching for where that might be, it may be a security component as well that we would need to make sure users have access to. But again, now available for all GIs within the system. All right, so now we'll get into some of the exciting stuff that's released as well. So there's kind of two different concepts under the AI automation realm for 26R1. One of this is going to be a concept of AI Studio. So it's going to be more of a prompt-based AI approach. And then the next is going to be kind of your standard AI assistant chatbot. So I'll start first with the AI Studio from a prompting standpoint. And so just to show you a little bit behind the hood here, some of the connection points in terms of how we have this running. Within Acumatica, there's this LLM connections component. And so essentially what this allows you to do is it's going to connect to your LLM of choice. So in our example, we have this connected to ChatGPT. This can be connected to something like a Copilot or a Claude. So really Acumatica is not necessarily forcing you into one specific LLM route or another, but rather giving you the tools at your disposal to connect to the LLM that perhaps your organization has adopted internally as well. So that's going to be kind of component number one for this LLM prompting section, is going to be connecting into an LLM provider specifically. Once we have that connection set up, this is kind of the background of what we'll start to set up to leverage in different areas of the system as well. So I have a couple of examples shown. I'll run through these in the demo too. But for example, more on kind of the distribution side, I have this LLM prompt set up to help me within my stock items to generate descriptions. So perhaps we're generating descriptions either for internal use, or maybe we're connected to something like a Shopify or a BigCommerce and we want that to be customer facing. What this prompt is essentially set up to do is assist me in creating that description. So I don't have to go in and kind of form it myself, but rather through this LLM connection, it's going to leverage ChatGPT to help pull those details in. This is where there's a little bit more granularity than your typical prompting of a ChatGPT, because we can start to give it instructions, but then we can also start to pull from details that exist within Acumatica as well. So anywhere where we start to see, these types of dynamic fields, this is where we're prompting it to say, okay, for this product description, for example, use details that exist within the inventory tab in Acumatica already. So use things like your SKU, your item class, the different attributes. So if you have different colors, sizes, all of those types of things as well. And then just give some instructions as to how do we want that output to be. So do we want this in, an HTML description? Do we want parameters in terms of, should it be short or long? All of those types of things as well. And then one component of this is if I was going to kind of build out this prompt, there's also this concept of a masked data field. So there may be maybe unit costs, for example, or prices that you don't want feeding your LLM. So it's essentially going to skip that, and that information that's masked isn't going to go out to your LLM for that component specifically. So you can leverage that masked data field for some of the security parameters around different data points within Acumatica that maybe you want leverage within the output of the prompt, but you wouldn't want that fed directly to a ChatGPT, for example. All right, I won't pop into all of these examples, but rather just start to highlight some of the flexibility here. So we saw an example more on the distribution side. I'll show a few examples on the CRM side as well. But really what this tool does allow for is building different prompts for different areas and screens in Acumatica. So if I just pop into, that source as to where do we want to start to leverage this tool, you can start to see that we see a lot of different screens in Acumatica. So do we want to use it on, an employee time card to start to create a summary of, what happened for that week? Do we want to use it on the manufacturing side? So there are different screens within Acumatica that it is allowed to be built for today as well. So it can expand beyond what I'll show in our couple of examples. All right, so to show you what this looks like, I'm going to go ahead and go into my items. And now I have a laptop computer. Again, perhaps I want a description on this, whether it's for internal use or e-commerce use that customers will start to see. You'll notice on this item, I don't have a product description yet. So what I can do is I've added this to the screen based off of that prompt that I just showed. And so now when I click generate description, it's going to go ahead and do that for me. So we'll see the output of this in a second, and we'll also see how it is leveraging components that exist on that item, such as attributes, weights, dimensions, all of those types of things as well. All right, so there's my product description. Here's what it created for me. And then we can start to see, that format that was produced based off of that prompt that I had initially. All right, another couple of examples that I'll show just for how this we can start to use this on the CRM side. So there's some pre-built prompts for things like opportunity summaries or customer support case summaries as well. So you'll see that in this case, it was added as a side panel here on the opportunities screen. So now what I want to do is walk through, hey, I can see all my list of opportunities, but I want just a summary of, where this opportunity is at, perhaps what stage it's in, how's it going, and perhaps some next steps as well. And so what I can do on this front is click this AI summary, and now we'll see it pop open into this side panel view. So here we can see, okay, this opportunity seems to be satisfied. What did they express interest in? And what are some potential next steps for follow-up? And as you'd expect, since this is a side panel view, as I start to toggle between the left-hand side, we'll see that right-hand side is going to update, based off of that opportunity specifically. So I must be doing something right because all of my opportunities seem to be satisfied. But you'll see things like their interests and their next steps are going to start to change just based off of that particular opportunity that I'm on. And then we'll start to see this again, have a prompt set up on the support case side. So same thing, if we want to start to see, any of these AI summaries here, that's where we can prompt it as well. So I have this same thing set up, very similar concept to the opportunities one, although it's pointing to a different screen, in this case, my support case. So now I can see, okay, for this customer billing question, here's a summary of what happened, some potential next steps, as well as that sentiment of, were they satisfied or were they not? Again, can toggle through that left-hand side, and then we'll see that right-hand side updates as well. All right, so this is part of that AI Studio component. Again, plugging into your LLM and then allowing you to create those prompts and then add those to different screens. And just to show you, not everything is satisfied in my environment. Here we have a little sad face because unfortunately the credit holding query, they were a little bit unsatisfied just based on the activities there. All right. So that's kind of the AI Studio. So now to pivot into the feature of the AI Assistant. This is probably what a lot of people start to think about when they think of something like an AI chatbot. So it works similar to, how you may have, a ChatGPT, a Claude, where you can just start to ask it questions using everyday language, and then it's going to produce certain results. So one thing that's obviously going to be a little bit different from those types of tools in the AI assistant is going to be that this AI assistant is just querying and producing results based off of data that exists inside Acumatica. There's also a view of which inquiries you want to feed this AI assistant tool. So if there's specific inquiries that, maybe we don't want people asking questions on, we can just start to configure, what data we're essentially pushing to the AI assistant as well. So I'll go ahead and create this new chat. You'll see this is kind of floating around, so I can move it. It's just a bit of a pop-up. And then there's some prompts already, or I could continue to ask it additional questions as well. But if I just wanted to, go based off of these prompts, maybe I want to see, the 10 recent most invoices that I have in the system. So traditionally, maybe you go to the invoices screen, you start to filter by the date and the status of open. But really what this starts to leverage is just using this AI assistant to do that for you. So you're not necessarily having to do kind of that ad hoc reporting on your own. And so this will take a minute here. It's just looking at, okay, based off those inquiries, which one would be the best to display this information? Do you have access to view this information as well? And now we can start to see the output here. So I'll make this a little bit bigger. See. There we go. And now you can see, okay, here are the 10 most recent open invoices. So these customers still need to pay. I can see this kind of pivot view that they've created for me, as well as this particular chart view. So again, could see something like this in a dashboard view if we wanted to, but this is where the AI assistant can start to produce those types of results as well. And then you'll also notice, just based off of the questions I asked it and the results that they come up with, it's also giving me the source as to, hey, where did we find this data? So if you did want to drill down further, or you wanted to analyze it to make sure, that's accurate, this is where we can see, okay, here's where it found it from. And then as expected, any of these blue hyperlinks in Acumatica are drillable as well. So we can have, an output right away that then we can drill down to further. If I just start a new chat here, we can start to ask it questions like, broader questions. Maybe this is someone like a controller on the financial side. Hey, we want to start to see last year's total revenue. And then maybe as a follow-up, I can ask it something like, let's compare that to this year. So a lot of different prompts that we have in here, but really this is, you can just go ahead and ask it certain questions and it will produce results. So kind of ad hoc, any questions that you have, you can start to ask the AI assistant, and then it's going to produce results as well. All right, so I know we have a lot more to show you as we go through, so I will not take all the time with the AI components, but that is a webinar we have queued up kind of for next month as well. So some exciting stuff, obviously in 26R1, and then we'll dive deeper into all things kind of AI as a follow-up to this webinar as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Julia then to queue up some of those financial and global components.
Awesome. Thank you, Kaylee. Some exciting stuff there. So now we're going to go a little bit back to the basics, and I'm going to share my screen here. All right. Can you see my Acumatica screen okay? Awesome. Okay. So I'm gonna walk you through the new file tag feature, show you a little bit the Outlook enhancements they made for the Outlook add-in, and then we also gonna talk about the prepayment invoices on POs and the new Insights Excel for the Excel add-in. Okay, to start with the file tags, so I will show you how that setup could look like for you. So in my file tag system, so I can have different tags. It can just depend on what you need and how your business works and would leverage this. But I have a couple set up. For example, right now, a simple one is the AP documents. So on the left side, you can see all the tags I have, and on the right side here, you can see the access rights. So what you can do here is you can create each tag is needed for specific access rights. So you can see that the administrator, for example, has the lead, which is the highest access right. So he can delete, edit, enter new ones, but you could also just have like you can only view or access is revoked completely. So by having this, you can assign custom tags to any files uploaded to Acumatica, and you can also search by files, which I will show you later. And yeah, just the user setup. So right now, if I would drill down into one of my attachments, I can show you how that would come into play. So if I go into my builds and adjustments, and I'm going to drill down into this attachment here. So on my file maintenance screen, which is this one, you can see this tags field. So right now it's an AP build, so it's tagged with AP documents, but I could search here and even add multiple tags if wanted, and would easily find these documents again if needed. So how would I find them again if I needed to? I can search into search in files. So instead of having to drill down into every AP bill, if I'm searching for it, maybe I know the amount, but I maybe have even forgotten the vendor, I can go into this search in files inquiry. And right now there are a couple ways I could filter this. If I know the name of it, I could. Maybe it's like a customer document I'm searching, but I don't know what kind of document I'm searching for. I know maybe the date, but not what it was. Or if I wanted to, I can leverage the tags here and, for example, drill down by one of my tag categories and then see all the builds in the system that have that tag category on it. So just a nice and easy way to find documents in your system better and quicker without a lot of drill down and search. All right. So that was one of the general features. The next one I will show you guys is the Outlook add-in and what kind of new capabilities enhancements they've made for it. So I'm just gonna quickly toggle over my email. All right. So you can see here, it's an email from Kaylee for demo purposes. So what is new here? So you can quickly view related and linked records to better understand the email context and find needed information. You can create a wide range of Acumatica records based on it, and you have also instant access to context. Like for example, here it shows me this is Kaylee, it shows me related projects and related requests for information I've already entered. I could enter new project issues, opportunity and leads, what you've already known. So there, obviously the features that were already there are still there. You can still create opportunities and leads from an email or have AP builds scanned into the system with the OCR technology. But yeah, now it's expanded to a couple more fields, and it's also showing you related projects. So I could, for example, drill into this request for information, and it will pop me immediately into a related record that might be related to the same project as the email that Kaylee just sent to me. So just a little bit of an enhancement there. I'll go back now and show you two of the financial new enhancements. So first off, we're gonna create a purchase order with a prepayment invoice. So for that, I'm gonna go into my purchases, create a new purchase order here. All right. For a vendor, we can use this as our hardware limited, and then create an item. I'm gonna just here my so laptops. All right, I'm gonna add a quantity. Maybe I just need 3 of these. I'm gonna save it. And what I can do now here is I can create the prepayment invoice from that screen. So you don't have to re-enter the data, and it automatically copies it to that prepayment invoice. And it's automatically also going to be linked to the purchase order. So if I click on these 3 dots here, oh, I'm gonna remove the hold first. So if I click on these three dots here, I can now create the prepayment invoice directly from that screen. So here on the prepayment percentage, I could either set this up by vendor. So if that vendor always requires a certain percentage of a prepayment, this would automatically populate here. But if I don't have it set it up, it auto populates to 100. But I can overwrite this here and, for example, say 30. So if I do create this, it's automatically gonna pop me into my screen, and I will make this a little bit bigger for you guys. All right, so now I have this prepayment. It automatically copied all the information needed on here. So I can go ahead, and the type, as you can see, is prepayment invoice. So I can remove the hold here and release it. Oh, adding the vendor number here. Let's say just a month. All right, then I release it. And then I can go ahead and pay. Okay, looks good to me. I'm removing the hold, print and process because it's a check. It's going to show me that remittance in a second. Perfect. Oh, lost it here for a second. Go ahead and process this now. All right, now this is processed. I can go back to my purchase order, and from here I can now create that purchase receipt. I can just quickly show you the prepayments now on the prepayments tab, and if I click on this other tab, I can also see all the billing information and the unbilled prepayment total that we just added. So now I'm gonna go ahead and enter that PO receipt. It's gonna take a second. All right, from here, I can automatically create that bill that I'm gonna apply the prepayment to. So by applying this, adding reference number here, I'll continue and save and release it. So by releasing this, it automatically creates that AP bill. So if I drill down into my billing information, I'll see that reference number. And as always, if it's a glue hyperlink, I can drill down into this. Again, making it a little bit bigger so you guys can see that okay. All right, so now I'm on my AP bill, and if I drill down into my applications, this prepayment that we just created is automatically applied with that auto apply. So right now I can just go ahead and pay from here, and then that payment gets applied. So just a little bit less steps than you're used to. And yeah, just makes it also less risky for incorrect document application and entering duplicates. All right. Great. Oh, sorry, wrong screen. All right, so that was just the purchase release. Sorry, I opened a couple ones because they all popped up in my pop-up windows. So the next thing I'm going to show you is the Insights Excel add-in for Excel. So what this does is you might already notice from the export options here if I go into one of my financial reports. So if I just run that report right now, I just have a report as usual, and as you can see, there's that export feature. So here you can see you can, as normal, and if you want to do that, you can export it to Excel or export it as in PDF. But then there's also that Excel connected and that's the Insights Excel that we talked about. So I could go ahead here and download this now. For demo purposes, I have already one for you queued up. So if I just swipe to the right, you should be able to see one of my reports that I have in my Excel Connect. So obviously this is one of the reports I downloaded, but I could also, like I said, try and start to create new ones as I like to and edit them with real-time data from Acumatica. So if I click in my second tab, and as you can see here, so there's this Acumatica add-in, and you can see here there's refresh. So there's a couple options. I could refresh just depending fields that I've just edited. I could just refresh the current sheet if I'm working in multiples and I just need that one, or refresh all. There's also this cancel refresh button, so if it takes too long, I could just cancel the refresh too. All right, so as you can see here, one of the fields I've already added, it's a drill down pulling from Acumatica. Here I can decide which company I'm using. I could also start to add fields like the financial period, and it will auto-populate. And then I could start building that report and also add formulas. So the formulas for that Acumatica add-in are here. So I have easy access to them, and I can, for example, drill down in the end balance, click next, and then it would prompt me with the couple of fields that I could select to enter them and build that report. So just an opportunity to work with real-time data in Excel too, and build your own reports or refresh reports in Excel. So instead of downloading multiple versions, you could leverage this. But as I said, the readback functionality is still a roadmap. But yeah, these are all the financial features that we wanted to highlight. And I will hand it back over to Andrea then.
So
Yeah, we go ahead. I think you're going to go through
yeah,
CRM.
we switched over. Okay, perfect. So I will do CRM next, a little bit more relevant for everyone, and then I'll get into the manufacturing, and then Andrea's going to wrap up with the distribution and the project side as well. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, and we'll walk through this. All right, so for the CRM features and enhancements, we saw a couple of those with some of the AI components, so some pre-built prompts for things like the case and opportunity summaries. There's also within 26R1 the modern customer portal. So that was the webinar we did last month. So feel free to kind of check that out if you guys are interested. But essentially what that is the webinar, or sorry, the customer portal that you guys may be used to already, but now a bit more enhanced from a modern UI perspective. In terms of the other kind of features we'll walk through, there's now the margin visibility for opportunities and quotes. So typically we wouldn't see kind of the detailed margin components until we got to a sales order flow, for example. But now as sales folks are in creating opportunities and creating quotes, now we can go ahead and see that detail at that time. I advanced this a bit here. Now that kind of fourth bullet point that I wanted to highlight, in previous releases of Acumatica, we started to see multiple document attachment capabilities for emails. Within 26R1, that's now expanded to the purchase order side as well as the shipment side. So you'll see kind of that screenshot below, but as we go into specific processing screens in Acumatica, one of those being the printing and emailing of purchase orders. As we run those certain actions, now we can send multiple documents within one email and combine those into one file if we wanted to as well. So think if we're sending out multiple different purchase orders, for example, to a specific vendor, those can kind of be grouped together. And then the flip side of that, as we're processing shipments, same thing, we can group together those documents into one file and one email as well. The next one is related to duplicate validation. So if you're using CRM today, you're probably used to some level of duplicate validation, specifically more on the contact side. But now that's been enhanced and added for further functionality for customers and vendors as well. So now on the customer screen and the vendor screen, we can have this validation pop up where it's checking for duplicates on the customer and vendor side. What that will start to feed is we'll have different detection rules. So, certain names or emails can start to drive, the relevant detection of, is this a higher threshold or a lower threshold? And then from there, if there are duplicates detected, we can go ahead and merge those and deal with those as well. There's also settings for, do we want to continue and save that record if it was detected as a duplicate, or do we want to kind of prevent it from being saved within the system? And then the last one is just some additional views and side panels. So helping to kind of streamline different components. So within the activity side, the vendor side, and the customer side as well. So just to show you quickly what that looks like before we get into, stop sharing here. We'll pull up Acumatica to get into the manufacturing side. All right, let's see here. If I go into my customers, now we have additional side panel views related to kind of any open documents on their specific records. So this is a new side panel that was added within Acumatica in the previous or in this release. So now I have this document side panel on my customer view where I'm seeing, all of their open invoices and payments, any open sales orders, quotes, and opportunities. So really just kind of a more centralized view into everything happening for that particular customer. This same thing is shown on the purchasing side as well. So if I go into my vendor record, we'll see this side panel has been added on this front as well. All right, so here we go. Same thing, visibility into all of their specific records from a vendor perspective. All right. So just some enhancements that come along for the ride with some of the CRM side, streamlining some of those components, making things a bit visible and easier for you guys to access. All right, next I will pop back into the PowerPoint and we'll see the manufacturing side. All right, here we go. All right, this is hopefully exciting for you guys. So the next couple of features are related to the manufacturing components. So really number one, which is a pretty big effort from this release, is the manufacturing shop floor kiosk. So I'll pop into that in a second. We'll show that in the demo. But now you can start to use kind of a simplified kiosk view within the manufacturing shop floor. So what this will start to allow is you can launch and run this kiosk that you don't need to require the operators within that to sign in as specific Acumatica ERP users. So simplifying that process a little bit, it's really kind of a portal view. I'll show you that in a minute. But within that shop floor kiosk, you can have essentially shop floor users and operators start to transact. So I can go ahead and clock in and clock out. I can issue materials, for example. I can do move transactions. All of those types of things are going to be a lot more simplified within kind of a holistic view that they'll need within the shop floor as well. We'll show that in a minute. The next is accurate time tracking for high-speed production. So really just some minor enhancements related to being able to track time by the second. So previously it was by the minute, but for anyone that's in kind of a high-speed automated production environment, you may want details down to that second level. So now we can start to enter, record, store, and report in more granular time, again, down to the second in this case. So that's just an example of how that would be set up if we wanted to leverage that granularity as well. And then the last one, I think, is a pretty big one as well. Now in 26R1, there's the ability to group work centers into departments. So, if you have a busy production environment, maybe you want to look at your resources by a production area as opposed to each granular work center. So what we can start to do is have kind of a hierarchy above the work center that's going to group these into manufacturing departments. So this could start to reflect, a broader production area that we want to report against, such as assembly or welding within a warehouse. And then that could include, one or many different work centers as well. So I just have an example here. Maybe we have different assembly work centers, but then in this case, we want to kind of group those together within a department as well. All right, so to show you what this looks like, again, I'll go back into Acumatica. And now I'm going to show you guys this shop floor. So I'm going to sign in as a production employee. And so now this is really the shop floor kiosk component. So I'm signed in as, in this case, Will West. He's a shop floor employee. And now I can go ahead and really what I'm seeing is kind of this kiosk view. So as you'd imagine, this could just live within a tablet, an iPad, something like that within your shop floor. And now it's really simplifying, what they need to see and what they're working on as well. So I won't dive all the way into this, but just to show you what this looks like. If Will was specifically working on any production orders at the time, that's going to be added as that work in process. So essentially any operation that he's clocked into is going to be considered kind of a work in process operation. If I just drill down into some of the details here, here's where we'll see, all of the production orders perhaps that he's working on. And then we can drill down deeper as well. So for this particular production order, if I wanted to go ahead and work on this or be within that process, I could go ahead and do that as well. So we'll see that, we've already done some of this production within that initial operation. But if I want to go ahead and clock into the next one, this is where we could go ahead and do so. So I can start to, leverage things like the clock in, clock out functionality. I could go ahead, issue materials if there were material callouts for this particular operation. If I have steps for this operation as well, I can start to see all of those details just within this kiosk view. So again, really simplifying the process, making it a bit easier, and now a little bit more flexible as well for any of our shop floor employees. And now you'll see, since I did clock into a particular operation, now we can see for this particular user, there's one work in process for this operation. And then again, we could clock out all of those types of things. So quite a bit slicker than maybe what you guys are used to from a shop floor component, and hopefully making that process a bit smoother for you guys as well. All right, I'm going to stop sharing and then hand it over to Andrea for some of the project and distribution components.
All right, I know we're a little short on time, so I'm actually going to keep it in the slides for the rest of it, and then we can address some questions, hopefully. All right. All right, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right, so just a quick summary of the projects, inventory, warehouse, and the planning side. So project materials, this one's pretty cool. So what this lets you do is actually it has this new screen, the project materials, which exists in the projects module. And what it lets you do is actually plan materials for your project and then actually issue them against the project as well. It also feeds into the MRP engines. So any demand that you have in projects will also be fed into MRP, so that inventory planning display, and then you can create purchase orders against it. And so this is kind of that planning screen where you do that. And what it lets you do also is it lets you receive an inventory, with a purchase receipt, and then it actually has a button there that says create material issue. What that does is that it actually allows you to then create the material issue, which is a shipment. And then what that shipment record does is it issues material out of the system and makes it hit that project. So that's a pretty cool feature. And then we have number 2, some changes with inventory in transit. So in transit inventory is now tracked as a status. And then it's treated as incoming supply. So if I have inventory I'm transferring from warehouse A to warehouse B, while it's in the middle there, it previously was kind of lost to the system. So it's not that case anymore. So now we're tracking inventory in transit as a separate status itself. And then of course you can also add that to the inventory evaluation report. The big one, 2B that you see here, inventory adjustments is now a part of the approvals workflows. And so in the same way that you can create an approval map for AP bills or a journal transaction, you can also do that for inventory adjustments. And that's a really good way sometimes to help reduce fraud, right? If you have a lot of large inventory adjustments, what's happening to your inventory there. So that's a feature that we've been looking for a while. Number 3, there's a few enhancements to the warehouse management. So automated receiving with put away locations. So you can have a little more sophistication with how you recommend to the folks who are receiving where to put it away. Number 2 is that screenshot that you see here where if there's a shortage that a picker needs to pick, but perhaps all those items aren't there, the pick list will now reflect that. And so it'll be a little bit more easier to use, right? In that you can actually see the quantities that are short. Also the ability to change picking locations on the fly, which can be nice. If there's breakage or there's overflow items in a different location, the picker can now change that inventory location when they're picking. Also the ability now to set a default purchase source for non-stock items, which can be nice. And then this last one, so once I create a purchase receipt and I release it, it already creates that inventory receipt, hits that inventory subledger, and then hits the general ledger. And so if anything is incorrect, that can be a few transactions to correct it. So now what you see here is just that corrections ability, right? So I can correct the receipt and I can also cancel it as well. All right. So I think that's everything we had on the agenda today. I know we just have 4 minutes left, so I'll show a wrap-up slide, and then we'll hopefully have time for a few questions. So the left side, we have here's our email. There's also a QR code to tune into. We have a whole every webinar that we do every month is placed in that YouTube series. So there's a QR code for that. And then of course the Acumatica community. One idea that we've thought about, and we'll send this out in the link. This is the hyperlink. We have a training survey that we talked to a few customers at this point who maybe you've been live on Acumatica a while. You want more technical training on things like generic inquiries, maybe anomaly detection, things like user roles and that kind of thing, and interested in collaborating with peers, with other customers of SVAs and certainly on Acumatica. So just, if you're interested in, please fill out this survey, just looking to understand the level of interest in having joint training sessions across our customers, especially for those more technical topics. And then if we did, what kind of topics and what's the time commitment that you're looking for? So that's what that training survey is. All right. I will stop sharing at this point. I know we're about 2 minutes left. Any questions that we can help address before we hop off? Appreciate your time.
So one general question that came in from one of the attendees is related to where the data is stored if the AI features are being leveraged. Certainly a very valid concern as things are constantly changing within the AI space. So really the question is around where the data is stored and ensuring that the data is only used by the client's instance of Acumatica and not more broadly. So I'm curious if anybody can speak to that.
Yeah, so Acumatica, it's basically a relational database, right? And you own your data, and if you're hosted through Acumatica, you're hosted through AWS, so that's where that data resides. Now, the idea of bring your own LLM, like Claude or ChatGPT, OpenAI, those licensing models. You can have different types of models in how you license those, that the data can be stored within an on-prem server, for example, and that you can have different, basically, if they share that data or not share that data, the rules on being able to delete your history, those kinds of things. Those, when we start to bring in an LLM, start to be the jurisdiction of that LLM. And we at SVA have recommendations of what you can do. There's some that are HIPAA compliant, right? There's a lot of compliant tools out there that are very safe. So please reach out to us if you have questions on that.
All right, and I think that's really the main, I'll say, generally applicable question for the greater good of the group here. And then for those of you that might have asked more specific questions that are, I'll say, more nuanced to your specific instance of Acumatica, we'll be sure to follow up directly with you for any follow-up conversations as necessary.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.